what the difference between leadership and management was. They were basically two words that meant the same thing, more or less. And many years down, we separated them by saying a leader is someone who leads people, and a manager is someone who manages tasks. So we need people to manage tasks. And that was the definition we said was what leadership is all about. So when we went to leadership training, we learned how to influence people, how to motivate people, how to give constructive feedback, and so on. In essence, changing people, changing their behavior, changing their outlook, changing what they did, changing how they saw things. And I have a very simple question for you. When's the last time you tried to change something about yourself? Whether it was an attitude that you had, I'm very aggressive, I want to stop being aggressive, I get angry, I want to stop getting angry. Whether it's a habit, I smoke, I want to stop smoking, or I gain weight, I want to lose weight. When was the last time you wanted to do that? And hands up if it was easy. Hands up if it was very, very difficult. Okay, how many of you actually succeeded? Okay. The idea is you cannot change anybody. You can only change yourself. And the reason is that to change someone, you have to have the remote control for them. You have to be able to control them. And to prove that point, if you get a baby who's just newly born, and you try to get them to eat if they don't want to eat, how many of you have been trying to feed a baby and have succeeded? How many of you have tried to put a baby to sleep and have succeeded? It's impossible. Because we are born free beings. We cannot be controlled, and therefore we cannot be changed. The only time people will change is if they want to change themselves. So leadership is not about changing anything about anybody. The only hope you can have is to influence people. One thing I want to tell you about influence. When we look at influence, we usually look at behavior. There's a behavior that I want to influence somehow. That behavior might be the way people do things at work. It might be an attitude. It might be the way people respond. It might be the way people perform. But at the end of the day, it's a behavior. The news I have for you is people are just like icebergs. Do you know the famous iceberg story? What's the famous iceberg story? Which movie has an iceberg in it? Titanic. Huh? Why did the Titanic sink? Yes, because it hit an iceberg. Because the person at the navigation told the captain, there's an iceberg way ahead. And it looked very, very small, and the Titanic was a huge ship. So the captain said, forget it. Nothing's going to happen. People are just like icebergs. What appears on the surface is less than 10% of who we are. And what appears on the surface is always logical and obvious. Nobody wants to appear like they're illogical. Nobody wants to appear like they're irrational. Everybody wants to appear like they know what they're doing, like they're talking total sense. So if I try to influence as a leader, if I try to influence people's behavior, I'm wasting my time. What you really need to do if you want to influence people is to look what's beneath the iceberg. Look at what influences people's behaviors. And what influences people's behaviors, this will work, is their thoughts and emotions. What we think about things and how we feel about things is what makes us act. If I think someone is trying to trick me, I will act in a certain way. If I feel someone is trying to get the best for me, I will act in a different way. And what influences people's thoughts and behaviors is their core beliefs. Their beliefs about life, their beliefs about what they need, their fears, and so on. So a leader who wants to influence people needs to work on what's beneath the iceberg. Needs to work on influence people's thoughts, emotions, behaviors, needs, outlook, mindset. You're not dealing with behavior. and you will never influence people if you just focus on their behavior. You're missing the whole point. Now let's look at the leadership model and see how we can get power and influence in the workplace. Let's start from where we ended. So leadership is about influence. To be able to influence people, I need to look at their thoughts, their behaviors, their needs, and I need to have what's called systemic intelligence. If I want to influence within an organization, I need to understand how the organization works. Who has influence even if they don't have a title? Who has a say in decision making? Who has a voice that people actually hear? To be able to influence within an organization, I need to look at all of that. And to be able to influence people, I need to realize that nobody will allow me to influence them so that they change if I don't have a relationship with them. So to be able to influence, I need to work on building relationships. I need to work on my emotional intelligence. I need to work on my social intelligence. I need to work on building trust between me and others. If someone tries to influence you and you don't even trust them, will you allow them? Will you even listen to their opinion? You won't. If someone tries to influence you and they don't have a relationship where they can actually sit and give you feedback and you will listen, it won't work. So a leader needs to work on building relationships before they start working on trying to influence anybody. This is the relationship between me as a leader or as an HR person and everybody else. To be able to build connections with people, I first need to have my presence. And what does that mean? I need to have values that I stand for. I need to have a clear brand that represents me. I need to have a personal statement that is very clear. Why? Because if you have someone who is different one day from the next, if you have someone who you can tell when I deal with you what your impact will be on, you will never trust that person. If every day I deal with you, I get a different reaction from you, I will stop relating to you. And if I stop relating to you, you can't influence or lead me. So it's very important for the leader, before they work on building connections, building their own presence. What is my brand? What do I stand for? What are my values and how will I bring my values to life every day? Whatever my values are. Everyone has a different set of values. What's important is how do I live those values? How do people see me living my values so that they trust me, so that they connect with me, so that I can influence them? And before I can build my leadership brand, I have to know and understand myself. I have to be very aware of what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, what motivates me, what keeps me going, what brings me down. What do I need? Basically, what's my own iceberg? So if you want to be a leader, forget about trying to influence and change others. Work on yourself. There's a very famous saying which I really believe in. Yesterday I was smart, so I tried to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I'm changing myself. So a real leader works from the inside out, works on themselves first, works on having clear presence, works on building connections, and then tries to influence people, and then they will change if they want to change. And there's a 6-step change model that I'll mention very quickly, because people will only change through 6 steps. Nobody changes overnight. The first very important step is to be very aware of the need to change. Why do I want to change? Why do I need to change? Why is it so important for me to change? Why will I never go back to the habit I had before? And the awareness sometimes comes from inside, and it could be an example like, I would like to be promoted next year. So the awareness is, I need to do something for me to get promoted next year, and that motivates me. Or the awareness can come from outside. If your boss sits with you in your performance review and says, if you don't change your performance or if you don't shape up, we will not get you promoted next year. So the awareness can come from inside or from outside. Either way, I have to be very aware of the need to change. Step number 2 is the desire to change. I might be very aware of things I need to do, but I don't care. If I don't want to change, if I don't want what's being offered, I will not change. Once I'm aware, and once I have the desire, then I start searching for options. Options could be, I'll take a course, I'll go attend a workshop, I'll get a mentor, I'll get coached, I'll read a book, I'll ask, I'll work on myself, but I will never look for options and start practicing them if I don't know why I'm doing it in the first place and if I don't really want to do it. As I'm searching for options, I start practicing. So I go to, for example, a performance review workshop, so I know how to give constructive feedback. And I get the steps, and then I go back and try practicing. One time it works, sometimes it doesn't. One time it works, one time it doesn't. And I keep practicing, getting feedback, practicing and getting feedback until something works or something doesn't. If I get success, then I keep continuing until it becomes a habit. When it becomes a habit, that's when change happens. If, for example, what I tried didn't work, if I'm not motivated and I don't have the desire, what happens? I drop it. But if I'm motivated and I have the desire, what happens is I search for another option, because it's not something I'm going to drop. And then I find another option, and then I keep practicing it, and then it works at the end of the day. In all of this cycle of change, the only influence you as a leader have for others is to maybe create awareness for them, maybe help them find their desire, and then maybe help them find options. That's it. The rest is all the work of the person, him or herself. And your job is to create a connection with them and keep trying to influence them. Who agrees with what I've said so far? Show of hands. Who has tried changing people and has actually succeeded? You've tried changing people and you've succeeded. Okay, what I want to talk about next are 5 types of power and influence that you can have in the workplace that can actually allow you to influence people. The first type of power is the most famous, positional power. Positional power is very tricky. It's a power that you have because of your title. So I might get promoted, and it gives me positional power. It gives me rights. It gives me privileges at work. 2 types of things about this power. It's earned in a way, and it's very temporary because it lasts as long as the position lasts only. If people like me and people relate to me and I'm a good leader, then this position actually gives me power. I'm going to tell you about the story of the worst leader I've ever had. I worked for about 6 years under a certain leader. This leader did everything that he or she was not supposed to do according to leadership rules. He did not know how to motivate people. He used to motivate by demotivating us. He used to tell us all the things we did wrong, believing this would get us to do them better. He used to tell people to give others feedback. عارف فرق تسد؟ كان دايما ماشي بمبدأ فرق تسد. For 6 years he had position, but he never had my respect or my trust from inside. I learned from this leader everything not to do. So if you have positional power, good for you. Use it in the right way. Because if people don't believe that you belong in this position, and if people don't believe that you have something to add to them, it's only a title. It's no longer a leadership position of power. The next type of power that you can have is expert power. And expert power is something that you gain because you're good at something which nobody else is good at. I remember at the time I used to work in a company, and there was a software that only 5 people in the company knew how to operate very, very well. During that time, those people had expert power. Everybody went to them, everybody related to them, everybody spoke to them, and guess what? They had a lot of power, although the title was not theirs. They did have that type of power. But as soon as the software changed, they suddenly lost the power. So if you have a certain power because of your expertise, make sure you keep developing your yourself. Make sure you keep working on yourself so that you develop your skills and get better and better and better at what you do. If you have expert power within the organization, make sure you're always on top of what you have. The third type of power that a lot of people have within organizations is connection power. You know, the person who knows everybody. If you want to get anything done, you can go to that person and he'll give you a contact. You go to that person and he'll tell you, yes, I know. Call that person and he'll get it done for you. And guess what? Leadership is all about connection building. And to be able to build connections, you have to be a person who's pleasant. I remember a leader in the organization. He used to have an open day where everybody would walk into his office, he'd say hello, he'd have cookies, he'd have cakes. He didn't need to do that, but he needed to build a connection. He used to walk around, walk into people's offices and ask how they were. He knew the names of people's children. He knew how people lived. He knew people's needs. And he didn't need to do it because he had a position, and his position would have given him that power anyway. But he was very smart and he built very strong connections. I remember as that person was leaving the organization, every person in the organization